welcome. Thanks for being here. It's the first edition that we actually do in English, and also the first one with a small crowd. Welcome. We've known each other for quite a while. I know exactly what you do and who you are. But for the people here and also the people checking the video, could you shortly introduce who you are and what you currently do with your career?
Sure. Well, my name is Raaf. I'm 32 years old. I live in Amsterdam, and I've been working in the nightlife industry since I'm 18. And currently I'm working as a music programmer for Paradiso and our newly opened club Parallel in Amsterdam North. And next to that I also do bookings and project management for Store, a new audio-visual project from Speedy J. So these are the things I do. Mm-hmm. And I also have a son of 2 years old, and I also study on the side as well. So quite busy at the moment, but yeah.
That's also what I'm very curious at, because I know for a fact that a lot of people know at a young age they want to do something in music, for example, and then they just get into that industry. With you, was that similar or different? Because you're now studying something that hasn't necessarily anything to do with the music industry, right?
Yeah, well, my path into the music industry has been quite eclectic, but it was not like set in stone at all. So I didn't know what to do after secondary school. And I just did some studies I didn't enjoy, quit them like within a couple of months, and I was like thinking, what do I want to do? And then I kind of got into nightlife some sort of way, like going out, and I felt something, okay, this is maybe something that I really like and I want to continue with. Yeah. And then I decided to sign up for music management, the HKU. Mm. And I basically started with a study, got my Paradiso, got into the second year. And part of the HKU is that you also do like these small internships for a couple of hours a week. I did some internships with like a small label. I did some promotion work. And around the same time, I also started working at Trouw Club as a how do you say that? A runner, picking up the glasses, and my interest into the electronic music industry, just increased, and I kind of got into the industry, got sucked up in the industry. Also started DJing, doing small events myself. I did some voluntary internships at, for example, I don't know if everyone knows this way back. It's the Twisted. It was like a DJ contest cafe at the Weteringschans.
Yeah.
They did like a yearly contest with a finale in the Melkweg, and I hosted the contest. I invited DJs, the jurors, etc., and set that up. I did some event promotion for events in Club Air as well, and I kind of rolled into the industry. And I was in my second year of music management, learning a lot of things I felt I was already doing in practice. Mm-hmm. And I also have to say, like, it was very focused more on the live industry, in my opinion, and not so much on the dance side. Mm. So I didn't really, felt the use of continuing. And then I saw there was like a vacature, a vacancy for assistant programmer at Apico events, mm-hmm. as a internship, and I kind of thought, okay, this is something I really want to do, but I'm not interested in internship. I wanna work, so I just signed up, saying I needed a job, and I got into talks with them, and I started working there part-time. As an assistant first, small company, which was about to explode actually, but they only did like smaller, it was still small, they did like more indoor events, small festival for 5,000 people. Yeah. It was not professional at all, it was like it was just a couple of people, came from a student party, and they kind of exploded, and I was in the whole process, which was very interesting. So you kind of invent a lot of new things with hard work as well, but learning a lot of things because there are no guidelines of how to do it. It's like you just have to fix it. And
how do you get hired as an assistant with hardly any experience in that exact domain then?
Yeah, because I think it was like a sum up of all the things I did, like my interest for club music, that I DJ'd as well. I did some smaller events, I did some promotion things, and I was just for me it felt like it had to be my job. I was very enthusiastic as well. It was more like, for me it wasn't really a job, it was like, I really want to do this. And this is really much fun. So I think it's just, it adds up. I think maybe that even my education, it didn't matter, It was more my experience or my knowledge also about the music things they programmed, which I also knew a lot about. So it was kind of, that. And then that's the way how I got in, I think.
No, I can imagine, because that's also what we hear a lot, right? That there are just a couple of jobs in this music or cultural industry where you can't really study for, and I think programming or being an agent, for example, is one of those. You really sort of your career took a leap whenever Apikoi started exploding as well, because what were, for example, the first bigger organizations or the events that they started organizing when you were already part of the team?
I think they just started with Stravwerk Festival.
Oh yeah.
At Riekerhaven, it was like a 5,000 capacity event, very small. I also played there, so that was also the connection. About why I think they maybe hired me or something, and I had a good connection with one of the guys that programmed there. And in the beginning I was just assistant, so I was mostly doing all the internals for all the artists and arranging all the hotels and the flights and doing the contracts, etc. And I just slowly got to my own projects, doing Apikoi, the original Apikoi at the Westerunie. Just got my own small events and grew from there. And at one point I was doing the festival as well. And then I did Amsterdam Open Air and started doing all the other things, the Valhalla, digital, I don't know, like all these.
Everything.
Yeah, you kind of,
You really learned everything on the job then, I guess.
Yeah, everything. I learned
literally.
Everything. Yeah.
How do you start with that? Because obviously I want to sort of dig into your role at Paradiso, but I can imagine that, especially for our crowd and the community we make this for, a lot of people are interested in how do you actually start preparing a lineup for a festival, like, for example, digital. Where do you start and when do you start? Can you sort of take us at least a bit through that whole process?
Yeah, like when you start, that also depends on where the festival's at. Like the festival right now is so big, you're busy with the festival all the time. When the festival's done, you already have the bigger picture of the festival of the next year done.
It's just a year-round thing then.
Yeah, and it's also and for smaller festivals, at least that was in my world, it was you just started like a half year before, I would say, or something. And the festivals at Apikoi always have a very clear concept, actually. So it's you there's a concept, and then you have to translate that to a lineup. And your personal preferences play a role, but definitely also you have to make a balance of acts that sell the tickets, but also acts that that are interesting and add something to the lineup. Maybe are not necessarily ticket sellers, but fit in the whole picture. There's no like a book that says.
No, exactly.
No, so it's also a feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
It's feeling. Yeah.
It's not a lot of data available. Like, because how do you decide upon who's a ticket seller?
Yeah, that's also difficult. Of course, sometimes artists are big. They release a lot of music that does really well in all the charts. That's something that could influence, but also other shows in other countries. And also you listen to the sound. Is it a sound that might work here? The Dutch crowds. Of course it's hard to generalize, but there are some. Some things work better here than others, and it's kind of. So this is how you find your way. It's you also look at other festivals. What does this act do there? And then next year you try to get that act. Or
how do you create that sort of, because it's sort of like a muscle that you train, I guess, right? Getting the feeling of what works, and how do you balance your personal preference with what you think is cool and what should sell the tickets to sort of at least break even the festival? How do you do that? Is that something you can train? how do you?
Yeah, I don't know if it's something. I think it's experience actually. It's just experience. In the beginning, I was also working, with my boss, and he did the things. But he was actually also. It was also quite new for him. This expanding.
Yeah.
So we're both in the same driver's seat, but he had more experience and he did learn me things. So it's kind of. So that's how it goes actually. It's an experience thing.
Exactly.
And yeah, of course, when you work on experience and you base all your actions on what you learned, also it can also happen that you might get caught up too much in your own thinking.
Yeah.
I don't know, but so it's also important sometimes to step out and maybe think out of the box. Or, sometimes when you do a festival and it was a success, and the next year you think, okay, we use the same format for next year, because and then it just doesn't work anymore because it changes. So you always have to be on top and always be on the lookout for new artists. Else you will, it won't work.
Yeah, you will lose touch.
Yeah,
with
audience is very critical as well, and and so of course, you need to have the right acts, and it's also, I don't know. It's sometimes you just look at the lineup and you're like, okay, I think this will work. And sometimes you just make a lineup and you spend a lot of money, but you just know it doesn't work, even before announcing. But sometimes that happens. You get also because of bad luck or some poor choice you made or whatever. It's kind of it's strange. It's hard to make a decision. It's also, I think I was not financially, it was not, if we would lose a lot of money, it would not affect me personally. So it's also the balance about what the owners want and what you want, because they might want the sure shots, ticket sellers, or they have a particular idea about this. So you also have to balance that, but it's part of the job.
Yeah, I guess, how does that work then? Because you mentioned there's sort of like a musical concept for a certain festival. Let's take Strafwerk, it's quite musical direction still, I'd say. Where do you start then? You just make a list of a lot of DJs that you want to book or have in mind, and just...
Yeah, you have like a general budget, I would say, of what you think is needed for the festival to sell this amount of tickets.
Is that directly linked? Sort of like there is an idea of how many tickets should be sold, and the program is literally sort of...
You look at the year before, basically, but of course the first year it's different. But I guess they were really on a hype.
Yeah.
All the club shows was a big hype, so that helped a lot. But you just look at, you have a certain budget, and then you book the artist. But the budget is not always like if you go over the budget because you had to spend extra money on this particular act, but did sell you so many extra tickets, it can be worth the risk, taking the risk.
Yeah.
So that's the balance. And you always, when I start with a festival lineup, I think it's also personally how you do this. I think generally you start with the headliners. So which you have 4 stages. Every stage has their own identity. Okay, this stage I want to have like more the Innervision sound. This stage I want to have more live. This stage I want to have the German deep house sound or whatever you pick, or this one the UK sound, and based on this concept you compile a list of artists you think that fit that concept, and then you take out the particular ticket sellers out of that list and you put them in the list. Okay, this is the first option. This is my preferred, and you make like a list. Okay, like six acts of this magnitude, and we just start with the first and see if it goes. Yeah, and at one point when we were doing a lot of festivals, I was just pulling out, like I did like, so many offers on one, on so many artists. I knew that like 3 would definitely not happen for sure.
Yeah.
But I know all the festivals are doing it, so
yeah, exactly.
You just have to spray. Which also made it more like a business. I mean, it was more like buying, selling thing, or I don't know.
It's just a factory then.
Yeah, it felt a bit like a factory at some point. So I actually preferred the time when it was more like.
Yeah.
That's also why Paradiso at the moment, it's a different approach in that sense. But just start with the headliners, then I always think, okay, what are the acts that are like new and upcoming, and we really need to have on the lineup to be like a refreshing festival. take that as a next step, and around that build with other acts. Make sure you have enough local talent. Also important for Strafwerk was very important.
Yeah.
And then just fingers crossed, it will sell tickets.
And most of the times it actually did.
Yeah,
of course.
most of the time it actually did. The festivals, it. Of course, it grows, and at one point it was like growing. You know, At one point it will stop growing.
Yeah.
That's, I would say,
Yeah, that's always how it works.
Yeah.
You already slightly mentioned it. You know, a festival lineup is different. It's a lot of acts. It's mixing everything together and coming up with sort of like the perfect recipe for a stage. Now you work at Paradiso.
Yeah.
What made you change? Why did you want to sort of take a step back from festival land, so to say, and go to Paradiso, which is, I think, the most iconic pop venue in the Netherlands? That's a different ballgame, right?
It's completely different. My work is completely different, actually. I grew up in clubs, I would say. So clubs were my thing. I always prefer clubs over festivals as a visitor, so that's one part of the reason. And also, then again, in when you work for like a big event company, there are particular guidelines, I would say, you know, or concepts or ideas in which you have to put on lineups. While here I have actually like complete freedom of what I book. I can book every night, you know, if I think this will work, I can do it. So it's more freedom in that sense, and it feels more like you're just throwing a party.
Yeah,
you're throwing a party, and you're working with all with the marketeers, the production, and you're like making sure that everything is glued together and it comes out a nice concept. So in that sense, it's completely different.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah,
and because is it correct that what you mean is that the team works more closely together rather than with a festival that's more of like a huge, bigger production where everyone is sort of on their own island?
Yeah, exactly. Festivals is usually you have like marketing team, production team, programmers. While at my shows, it's usually the artist is more. Also, the artist plays a more central role.
Exactly.
You know? So the event is built around an artist often.
Yeah.
So the artist also, you know, has a big stake in basically in everything. It depends. It depends, but it's more artist centered.
Of course.
So in that sense.
Music-wise, you program something that's rather different than you do for festivals, right? Yeah. Did you already have that experience, or was that also something quite a leap from what you did?
I booked all kinds of things, I would say. I don't know. It's in the end, it's booking artists is sort of the same process, but I also like to book things I don't necessarily even know or listen to or enjoy. And at Paradiso, we also work a lot with partners, promoters, artists who are interested in doing an event, and also really like to work with them and they, you know, their ideas. You know, it should not always be me who decides the lineup. It's very nice to work together with someone to come up with something that works. Yeah, and that way you can also discover new artists and give others a platform to throw an event. I don't know. It's different indeed. So my work is completely different. I also felt like I had to start all over again for some reason. It's the companies also are completely different. So it's kind of it's switched, but it's nice. It's a new experience. Yeah.
I can imagine.
I think the festivals is like a very stressful period around the festival. Yeah, it's like you have to make it work, and here you have like every week you have like events. It's like a non-stop thing. So in one way, it's also festivals. You have like a lot of focus on this festival, and everything is, you know. And here you also sometimes have to let go, you know, and just let it happen because there's a next event the week after. Yeah. So
is it in that sense also more trial and error than with one festival that has all the focus for quite a while?
I wouldn't say it's trial and error. No, I don't think it's trial and error. But I think festivals are also trial and error. So not at the stage when they mature. Yeah. But in the beginning.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and of course at Paradiso we also have our ways of working and guidelines and. Yeah. But you're working with a lot of different people, so it's kind of every event is different. Like your work is never the same. That's what I like.
Yeah.
That's what I like.
Hey, and when it comes to programming now, I can imagine it's also something that you mentioned. Your personal interest in the music plays a role in what you program. There's then also more the commercial side. In what way is the fact that you're just personally interested in music and just listening music to yourself, is that sufficient in making sure that you know what is out there?
No.
Or is that really like a task for you in your agenda to sort of look for music or artists?
It's definitely a task.
Yeah?
Luckily, we also get a lot of bookers, promoters, people from outside who like provide you artists or ideas, and that's also, but you definitely have to block time in your agenda to actually look for new things or think about new ideas. Because if I only would book my personal music now, we would not sell out, I think.
Yeah. No.
So
what does it look like? You just sit in a chair with a laptop, you say, okay, leave me here for 3 hours. I'm just browsing through Spotify or what?
It's like, I also go on Basecamp, for example.
Oh, yeah.
I go on Spotify, I check Resident Advisor.
Yeah.
I also really like to go to festivals. I haven't done, of course, the last couple of years, but these and also other club shows which can give you a lot of inspiration.
Yeah.
Because in the end, you only know, if an artist will deliver is when you see him play.
Yeah, when you witness it.
Yeah, it can be it can be very disappointing.
Yeah.
The online thing can be like, oh, it looks really solid, but then in the end, it just doesn't deliver.
Did you experience something like that when you booked an artist you were sort of fully confident about, then in the end it just wasn't it?
Oh, of course, but it can also of course, yeah. But it can also be personal taste. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
There's so many factors that influence that, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Sometimes also like super expensive, and it's like
just didn't pay up to the expectations.
Yeah.
You already mentioned in the beginning, like, okay, you also have a lot of bookers and agents contacting you. How does that process exactly work? Let's for example take then Paradiso. You have a lot of weekends to plan. You want to book someone. What do? You just pick up the phone and call the agent? Is that
generally when in Paradiso, because it's a big venue, so I would not say we just like at other venues which are really like a club thing, like school, they just book artists, put artwork, and that's the thing. And we really work with concepts or with artists that are capable of attracting enough crowds.
Yeah.
So we either work with other promoters, they come to us, or we reach out to them, or we are in touch with, for example, like Mojo or Friendly Fire or whatsoever, and they have a big roster. Artists are touring. There's also a big aspect of that, like you see a lot of bands like they tour, but like now a lot of DJs also are like touring artists,
Yeah.
They have like hard ticket shows and they work the same.
Yeah.
So then you just balance that out and fit it in your agenda.
Yeah.
Basically, it's puzzling. So. And sometimes you have like a date. Okay, this date I really want to create something my own, my special thing. I have an idea, and then you save the date and you think of your own concept. But it has to be a concept. There has to be a story around it. You cannot just
No, that's not enough.
No, it's not enough. No.
And how does that process work of actually booking an artist? Because it sort of like sounds easy, but what does it take to actually lock an act, for example?
I know it's funny because booking artists is completely different when you just started.
Yeah.
And then what I do now is
exactly.
When I just started booking artists was when I did my own small events. It was like, the agent didn't take you seriously.
Yeah.
You kind of felt ignored, or cost too much money. No one wants to listen, and now it's basically you just ask availability. It's available. You do an offer. It's either we want more or not, and you go into a negotiation, and it can be done quite quickly.
Yeah.
It's so.
Because
then again,
Paradiso?
really big artists, then more questions about everything. But it depends. It really depends on the agent, on the artist.
Yeah.
But usually, I like the clarity. You know,
Yeah.
if you feel it's not the right choice for you as an artist, just make
Fine, yeah.
tell it to me. You know, I can say why I don't disagree.
Yeah.
Or we can just, okay, maybe you're right. This is not the right venue or the right time.
Yeah.
We move on. Avoid spending too much time on one artist or in one line. If you want one artist and you're like waiting on this artist confirm, it doesn't confirm, move on at one point because, they don't wait for you either.
No.
So
There's a lineup to be filled.
yeah, exactly. And else you don't have the time. You know, it's you just have to move on. Or put like deadlines on the offers you do, like okay, before this time. Else move on. Of course, sometimes you like have to come back with your tail between their legs. You know, okay, sorry, I still want to do it.
Yeah.
Because you really needed the artist. That's okay.
Yeah. It's part of the learning curve, I guess.
Yeah. It's fine.
How did you deal with, because again, in the beginning, how do you deal with people not taking you seriously then? Is that just...
Yeah, that's really just putting in hard work and convincing them. Like really telling them why they should do your event and let them see why you're enthusiastic and what this event adds to the artist profile in your opinion, you know?
Yeah.
And make sure that you have to understand what they think or something, or pretend at least. And so that's the thing.
Yeah.
I think because the agent gets a lot of offers, requests, and they have like maybe major players that do requests, and you know they know there is a certain degree of quality, and it's easier for them to like go for that offer because they know it will be fine. You know. Yeah. They know the travel will be arranged, they know the hotel will be fixed.
Just
they know,
a safe choice in that sense.
Safe choice.
Yeah.
But I think agents are also, like I think artists also are looking for new things, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's one of the good things maybe after the pandemic, that they are also open to new ideas. So if you have a new idea, you know, if it's a good idea, just pitch it in the right way. And
exactly.
Try to convince artists and don't give up, or don't feel personally attacked if the agent. Also, what I find very helpful is, of course, there's not always time, but talking to someone instead of emailing can also be. Maybe try, you know, if you're a beginning promoter, try to meet people really. If you like, say 3 words with someone, you have like and the next time you email them, they take you serious.
It's differently.
It's very. That's how it works, you know. And also on email, it can be very direct, or it can be feel a bit hard sometimes. But I think you just have to, if you have an idea and if you want to go for it, just go for it.
Yeah, exactly. Have you in general experienced a difference in sort of the mood or mindset of artists after the pandemic, or agents in this sense? You say they are perhaps also more open now.
Yeah, I feel there are new ideas came up.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I think artists are also open for new ideas. Yeah, and there's definitely changed a lot of things in the music industry, and more the underground music industry. I think the Black Lives Matter, like the diversity of lineups, etc. Like the idea about this has really changed. Yeah. And that automatically has a lot of on the program. You know, like they don't only look for the money anymore, maybe, or they also look at other aspects. So in that sense, I think the pandemic changed quite some things. But also, what you also see is like there are a lot of like goede voornemens. I don't know how to say that in English. So people really feel they want to do the right thing. You know, during the pandemic, we want to change the industry. Yeah. But in the end, when it opens up, it's back to normal or something. That's also usual. Because it's so busy. It's kind of. So, I don't know. Things change, but not completely. No,
that's fairly impossible, I guess, right? But how do you now, for example, go about that whole... because the movement that was set now with having more diverse lineups, both at festivals and pop venues, is that something that now, because that awareness is more and more there with the people in charge, that's going naturally, or is that something you really need to put effort in a lot?
Yeah, it doesn't go naturally, you know. It's because it's like systematic on how this industry has been all the time. But now the awareness is there, and it's like a constant. Also for myself, you know, be aware of what you say, who you book, or why you book someone for the right intentions. But it's not naturally because a lot of things are really institutionalized, on how we, for example, behave, how we treat people, or how we expect people to be. While some communities who come from like activists or like minority groups, they have completely different way of thinking, and if they don't fit in our perspective, we can sometimes be a bit like, okay, you're not professional or so. Well, actually, that's what I see sometimes around me, and that's if you need to have the conversation about this, constantly, and that's also something for our new club, Parallel, in which we really try to bring all sorts of communities together and work with diverse lineups. This is really something, we put a lot of effort and time in. Because it's also like a learning thing the whole time. Of
course.
I'm also aware that I'm like a white man within this industry, so I also try to talk to people who are not and hear their perspective about this. And we get really good conversations about this. But it's it changed the industry for sure. Of course, because especially the electronic music scene is like built also on the black culture.
Exactly.
And all minorities have also, they are empowered by this industry, but it became like more like a white institution.
As soon as it got to Europe,
and so we cannot forget where it came from, for sure.
Cool. You already mentioned Parallel. I was about to sort of ask for how you see your future within Paradiso. Obviously, you started during the pandemic, right?
Like 1 week before the lockdown.
Amazing. So there's still a lot to do for you then. How do you see your future with Paradiso, and what are your sort of personal ambitions or plans with Parallel?
So at the moment I'm working for both. So Parallel's a new project. We started working in, I think, a couple of months in the lockdown. We were like, okay, we need to work on this space. We need to refurbish, restyle, revamp the Tolhuistuin, because it deserves so much more in terms of clubbing. Now it's only like concerts, and this was really nice because we had a project to really focus on during the lockdown.
That's nice.
And now we're open. We just are now in the process of finding the right way to do it. So we came up with an idea, and we are very happy, but things need to develop, need to change. Some things don't work, some things do work, and it's a natural process. And luckily we have like an institution as Paradiso behind us. We don't, we have the time. So we have the time to develop something. Slowly but surely, we're moving to what we think is the perfect fit. But it's so that's just the process we will continue on developing.
Nice.
That's really nice. It's also a challenge with all the new people, and it's a kind of you start from scratch.
Of course.
Staff shortages, and it's kind of it's a difficult time, but it's nice. It's going well, and for me, I think I just want to continue like doing both. So continue with Parallel, but also Paradiso. I'm really happy to work there for such a institution.
I can imagine.
It can also be like tricky for some things, like some things are like really set in sort of stones, and it takes a lot of time to change things, because it's also nice because everything gets thought over a million times. But sometimes when you do like, it's not like you have a company with a couple of friends. You're like, hey, we want to change this.
We just do it like this.
No. So, but it's also it's a nice. You learn a lot of things about this. It's nice.
Cool.
For sure.
Good to hear. To round it off, what if someone is watching either this video, perhaps one of the people in the room, have the ambitions or at least the idea that perhaps, program the way you do is something for them? What is the most important thing that person should do, in your opinion?
Well, if you have the ambitions really to become a programmer, I would say, for example, doing your own events, or promoting your own events is like, that's something where you really learn the ropes of doing an event. I think that could be a very, very interesting step. And I understand like joining an event is not like joining an event. You can also do like maybe internships.
Yeah.
That's also very helpful. I think practical experience is the most important aspect.
Yeah.
And also develop yourself musically, you know?
Yeah.
Like it can be, if you find something that you find very cool and you think it's worth, if you believe in something, try to get the most out of that and maybe try to do an event with if you have a particular concept with a particular artist, try to build something special around it. I think just out of your own passion, I would say that's the most important. But there's not one thing.
No.
It's not the most important. Well, it's maybe bad to say, but I think your degree can help. But for me, it was not the most important on how I got into the job.
It was just going out there, doing stuff yourself, experiencing what you like, what works.
Yeah, and a lot of people say like network is important. Of course, your network is important. But I think when you do a lot of things with passion and also like you have to continue doing, don't give up.
Yeah.
And that in the beginning, people might think, "Who's this young kid? He's always here," and just continue doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
At one point, we in Club Air, for example, I worked there as a stage manager for a while, and then they were like, "I wanted to do a party there," and in the end, they gave us a party.
Yeah.
Like they gave us a couple of dates, and that's also like it helps. Just
step by step.
Show what you want to do, and don't be scared to ask as well.
Yeah,
I think it's also for me, from my perspective, when I hear when there's someone asking or saying he's interested to doing an event and he has a nice idea, I always want to talk.
Yeah.
So it's always good for us to actually. Sometimes it's also for me it's difficult, to get in touch with Sometimes I feel there's like something a mismatch between the people that want to do things and with me. Looking for new things. I think this match could also be made like better or something.
Yeah, exactly. I can imagine.
Yeah, but persevere, like continue.
Yeah.
Don't stop.
That's a good way to end, I guess.
Yeah.
Any questions? No?
Are you also programming in parallel?
Yes. I do there also weekly shows.
Okay, but this is more like your own project, no?
Sorry?
This is more like your own project, no?
Yeah, we like it's also Paradiso. So Paradiso it's also Paradiso owned. But this is like a project which really came from me and Wesley, the other programmer, and we kind of set it up. And they gave us all the means and the trust to do it. Yeah.
How did you deal with the pandemic? Because you said that it was a project that it was supposed to start 1 week before the pandemic, no? Parallel?
No, I started working at Paradiso 1 week before the pandemic.
Okay.
And we started working on Parallel a couple
During.
of months in the first lockdown.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Any more?
How do you deal with the differences of artists that Paradiso has? Because I have myself produced an event there of a Brazilian artist, and it's a completely different kind of music, but was still successful. And then in the same day, we loaded out, and there was a new party coming in the same night. So how is it for you to deal with such a big range of roster in the same night even?
Yeah, that's good that you ask. That's a big challenge. Like generally clubs are clubs, they only do club nights. Paradiso is also like a concert hall, and it always has like concerts in the evening, so you always are dealing with productional issues. So you have to like, if the night has a big production, it really has to be thought out really well to make it work. Even to that, you have like an idea for a LED screen, for example, for the night, and then the artist in the evening doesn't want to use the LED screen. And then you just get into a negotiation about how can we incorporate the LED screen on the show from the other artist, even if he doesn't want it, and you end up buying extra lights for this artist to like kind of get leverage. So that's also a big. I understand. It's a struggle, but in the end, it's also like a charm from Paradiso. I don't know that like everything is going on there. It's like, but it's also, the production thing is a big challenge. But luckily, we work with a lot of people who are really experienced and do it every week, basically.
Yeah.
Although the pandemic, it has stood still for 2 years, and it was like starting again was like for everyone's like, oh, how do we do this? We find the right way, but we're getting into the flow again. So yeah, dealing with all the styles is a challenge, but I think in the end it's what makes Paradiso. Like that, it's not really, there's no sort of, everything can be booked there. Not everything, of course. The programmers make their own decisions, and that's also why won't you book that act? That's kind of course, it's personal and some. We don't book everything, but we try to be broad. Yeah, I would say that's
nice. Final questions? No? All right. Thanks, man.